What follows is an overview of an electronic task management system. The example given is a template for use in an accounting practice where accounts for a SMSF are being prepared. The process begins by creating a job for the accountant staff member. Select your template. In this case, prepare an SMSF. You can create any template you want in ETM. Select the client the job is for. ETM allows you to create client databases and has grouping and other functionality and relationship options. You have now selected the employee and created the job template. You can now set the date the job is due for completion. Note: ETM lets you create recurring jobs. This allows jobs to automatically be created each week, month or other times you specify. Once a job is created and assigned to an employee, they can go to their complete jobs area and work on jobs allocated to them. Each employee can see all their allocated jobs. ETM also allows staff to filter jobs by client name, group and status. When you enter a job, the template is user-defined. What you are looking at here are steps, checklists and reference points to help an accounting practice set up the controls and resources it needs to aid staff prepare an SMSF return and get it right. Here is the first example of how electronic task management, ETM, works. The accounting practice wants to make sure a client engagement letter is on file. You can leave this to chance, or using ETM an employee can be reminded to follow this up. If no engagement letter is found, a staff member can double-click on the attachment and open the accounting practice's pro forma letter. Note: when you attach any document to ETM, it stores the file extension name. This lets employees know the type of file they are accessing. The letter now opens and the employee can prepare it for signing. ETM is an electronic checking system. Once the step has been dealt with, the staff member checks it off. Once this is done, the step disappears from view. ETM is designed to let accountants and administration people create checks and routines that matter to them. Here we are asking the employee to make sure they have all the SMSF paperwork they need before taking the job any further. The idea is to avoid downtime. If documents are found to be missing and the job then has to be suspended from work midstream. The SMSF template contains many steps. There is no need to go through them all in this presentation. The idea behind ETM is to create solutions and logical systems for managing day-to-day accounting assignments. The practice here has a standard set of work papers it wants used for all SMSF jobs. ETM lets you attach them as a template so an employee can open, name and link the work papers to the job. The template opens and is named. The file can then be saved and linked back into the step in the job. The process is designed to store files with a logical network link. The work papers are now linked to the job. Double-clicking the link will open the file. ETM is a multiple-user application, so any user can now open this job and view the linked work papers. This step highlights further aspects of how ETM is designed to work. Note that there are two levels. At the bottom you will see that steps 5, 10 and 15 are sub-steps of step 30. Step 30 is about providing information to employees regarding entering and processing bank accounts. The sub-steps give further pointers on this issue. This is where ETM can be used as a reference and mentoring tool. What you are looking at here is a link to a video which explains to employees how they can upload a CSV data file into an accounting package. If the employee is trying to enter bank statements in this part of ETM, they can refer to an interactive video, created by a senior accountant, that gives them the steps to following to correctly load up a CSV file. Tools like this let you capture processes. Your staff can now reference how something is done. They do not need to disturb a senior accountant or partner. You are providing e-learning solutions within your practice. It does not take that long to set this type of instruction up. Products like Adobe Captivate 6 are not that hard to use. Here is another example of ETM functionality. Bank confirmation for SMSFs. What is your practice's policy? How do you go about getting them? How do you inform your staff? ETM lets you design your system. A PDF attachment with an audio tells your staff the issues as you see it. ETM is a training tool. It helps you pass knowledge on to employees. Here is the next level. Do you need a bank confirmation? A step and link can be created to spell it out. What you are doing is creating instructional processes to help employees understand what is going on, what to do and why. Systems like this help you get it right. Without supervision, junior and intermediate staff make mistakes. E-supervision can help your practice reduce its error rate. This section on bank confirmations contains tools, links to templates and pro forma documents to aid staff in following the practice's SMSF bank confirmation ordering system. Here is another example of using ETM to try and help your practice avoid an embarrassing mistake and probably losing a client. One of several rollovers into a SMSF is untaxed and the employee fails to realize that a 15% tax rate should have been applied. In ETM you create steps to warn staff to be on the lookout for such transfers. You can also attach a resource. In this case, a hyperlink to an ATO website explaining the issue. Remember, your staff member is working on an SMSF and at this part of the job they are looking at transfer in issues. This is a link to learn, not just warn. Here is another example of using ETM. Is the member making concessional contributions? Your employee is asked to think about this and you give them some resources and a link. The link opens a PDF explaining the rules and what to watch out for. It then has an embedded attachment for the employee to create the required minute if one is required. These are all basic forms that any accountant can create within their office. Here is another example of using ETM to provide instructional resources to office staff. Working with dividends and shares in an SMSF. You can record and capture how to look up and get information on listed shares. Your staff do not have to wait on the office senior for advice on how to do things. A simple PDF with some audio and screenshots will allow 90% of junior staff to do things they would normally have to ask around the office for. Title searches for SMSFs that own land. How do you deal with which your practice policy is in this area? Does everyone just ask around? A junior accountant is not lacking in intelligence. They can be given reference points to know how to proceed. Here is a media statement dealing with the shortcomings of more than a few accountants when it comes to title searches. When you find something like this online, ETM gives you a system to make the knowledge available to staff. They will see it and, as a result, your practice has a better chance of getting things right. ETM lets you create documented checklists. At critical points you can ask staff to fill in an interactive form and link it to the job. This form deals with important issues relating to title searches. Use it to get staff to think about, consider and report to you on what they are doing. If the SMSF has borrowings, you can set up what your practice wants more junior staff to check for and review. An interactive link like this is a tool to help staff deal with complex issues. Employees do not have to keep asking a senior accountant for advice. They can learn, check and think about what they are doing first. If they then need advice, they are better placed to ask the office senior a more focused and intelligent question. How does your practice manage the issue of when SMSF assets, in particular real estate, should be revalued? Use ETM to link to the ATO. Give your staff efficient access to the things they need to see. You can build more complex decision models for involved and subjective areas. This is an interactive flowchart. It has help notes, hyperlinks and references to help staff make a valuation decision. ETM lets you position it in the SMSF template so staff can deal with the matter if they need to. The area is important, and once the decision model is formulated, your staff have both the resources and a working file on the practice's position. The flowchart opens hyperlinks. This sort of thing is not hard for any accountant to create using PDF or Word. ETM is also a platform for creating logical links to spreadsheets and calculators that staff can refer to. In this part of ETM, the steps deal with pensions. It is easy to link an Excel template to help employees work with the tax issues. You select the link and your practice staff can refer to a calculator like the one displayed here. This spreadsheet is designed to help staff calculate tax and exempt components. Note at the bottom right the spreadsheet has an inbuilt video link explaining how to use the sheet. This type of functionality is well within the IT capabilities of 90% of public practice accountants. It is not hard to do and once done can be referred to by all staff. Here is another example of a small but useful process ETM can help your practices processing. A staff member is working on an SMSF and going through pension payment issues. It turns out the PAYG summaries need to be adjusted. ETM allows you to design a system to have staff check the PAYG withholding issue as well as giving a link and tools on how to resolve the problem. Because the employees checking off the steps, they are being reminded to check if the PAYG summaries are correct. If they are not, they are given the attachments and tools to deal with the problem. Word opens and you can enter what is required to advise the ATO and reissue the new PAYGs. ETM makes the pro forma ATO letter available when you need it. The employee does not have to ask around. Moreover, more junior staff would probably never think to check the issue in the first place. The letter is created and you can now use ETM to link it to the job. ETM can also be used to create more complex solutions for your firm's senior staff. Here the SMSF year-end accounts also involves setting up a pension. ETM gives checklists and tools on how your practice wants this done. How does your practice calculate the estimated tax payable that will apply to a member's balance on the day they shift from accumulation to pension phase? You will not be doing the SMSF's actual tax return until after June 30th, yet up to the pension start date the member's investment income is taxable. How do you handle public unit trusts, whose tax statements you will not be getting until year-end? Accountants need to formulate policy here and SMSF members need to adopt them. ETM lets you link a tool that spells out and calculates your practice's solution to this issue. It is an attachment that all staff will use and work with. The result is a consistent practice outcome. Here is an example of using ETM to communicate with a more senior person about what is happening in a job. To demonstrate the functionality, let's assume an employee is working on the SMSF accounts and as they are checking event steps in ETM they realize an actuarial certificate will be required. These cost money and the employee decides they want the partner or senior accountant to check the client is aware of the fee. You could send an email, knock on the partner's door, or you could use ETM to set up the query. Note how it works. The query is at the point in the template about the issue you are working with. The employee is working on pension, so the query links to the relevant step. Here the question is asked, the fee is $300, check with client if all okay. Note, the query function allows you to link any type of file. You could create an audio or PDF a document and attach notes about what it is you need clarification on. Remember, there are often multiple queries when you work on a tax job. ETM is trying to give you a tool to work with queries by creating them where they can be seen. Moreover, often the senior staff member is not available at the time you are thinking about the issue you need an answer for. ETM creates queries so an employee can get a response on a collective basis later in the day or week. Queries are dealt with through the job management system. In this area you only see jobs that have queries. When a senior staffer or partner opens a job with queries, they only see the steps that have queries attached. All the other steps are hidden when looking at a job in query view. In the example here, the only step showing is the pension phase step. You can see there is a query and you are now ready to respond. Here is the query. You make your response. Node ATM removes the job from query view. This has happened because the query has a response. It will now show in response view. This is where the employee looks. They see jobs that have responses. Note how it works. The response is at the point in the template about the issue the staffer was querying. The employee is working on pension, so the response links to the relevant step. When an employee opens a job with responses, they only see the steps that have responses attached. All the other steps are hidden when looking at a job in response view. In the example here, the only step showing is the pension phase step. You can see there is a response and you are now ready to read it. Once the response is viewed and acknowledged, the job disappears from view. Here is another example of the functionality of a form that can be attached in ETM. It is a mid-level checklist. It is easy to create such a form with an email link so that a staffer can send it to a senior accountant. The senior then is aware the job has reached a certain point and can either do a mid-step review or ask the more junior accountant to keep going and finish. The point, however, is that the employee is being asked to submit a statement that he or she has done these checks and balances. This is a control point because it creates a record that can be referred to later if the employee failed to do the checking and steps they said they had in fact attended to.
This presentation has been produced to highlight the basic functionality of the ETM processing system. If you require any further information, contact the author.